Life is full of unexpected twists and turns. Some good, some bad, some simply beyond this realm. The tales you're about to hear are the untold stories of those who entered the shadows, perhaps against their own will. These are the Terror Tapes. Terror Tapes, Episode 4, FearNet, Part 2. The next day, Bret avoids his phone altogether, but FearNet is persistent. By midday, his phone buzzes with a notification. "Where you been? Get back in and face your fears." Bret wasn't one to believe in conspiracies, spiritual nonsense, or anything like that. He was rather a non-believer in anything after his past experiences, opting to remain agnostic on most things involving anything outside of the physical world. Despite his avoidance, FearNet keeps sending notification after notification. It's confusing to him because he swore he deleted the app, but maybe he didn't. As the notifications keep rolling in, the messages linger in his mind, pulling him back despite his better judgment. He reopened the app and was greeted with a mandatory update request. The update requires full access to his phone's data, photos, messages, and even microphone permissions. Bret hesitantly grants the permissions with promises of creating a personalized experience unlike ever before, promising unparalleled realism. Was he genuinely curious, or was he chasing another adrenaline-pumping experience? One he hadn't had in a long time before his last FearNet underwater experience. Bret's curiosity turns into fascination as he explores user-generated content on the app's social feed. Videos of people confronting their fears flood the screen. Some laugh at the absurdity, while others scream in terror. Rumors swirl among the comment section of other users experiencing heart attacks from the shock of the app's realistic capabilities. Still, these comments were accompanied by a notification from FearNet dismissing them as fake. Eventually, the app prompts Bret to input another fear. Emboldened and unwilling to learn from his mistakes, Bret is ready to test the bounds of what fears him and the app's claimed abilities. He types out a few things but deletes them until he lands on the true fear living under his thoughts. Fear of succeeding. It felt weird to admit, but after all this time of thinking about his fears, it was the one thing he landed on that all the signs pointed to. If FearNet did anything, it made him think about why he chooses to hold himself back in life so much. At least he had a reason to thank FearNet, begrudgingly or not. As soon as he confirms, the app begins constructing an immersive scenario. The app tells him for a better experience to turn the lights off, so he does. Moments later, he scans a pitch-black room but can't hear anything except a beeping noise similar to a heart rate monitor. He moves the camera towards the center of the room, revealing a hospital bed faced away from him with some standing medical equipment, and finally he sees the room is morphed into a sterile hospital room. The air is heavy with the scent of disinfectant and the fluorescent lights hum faintly overhead. Bret's phone camera reveals him wearing a doctor's coat with a stethoscope draped around his neck. The app's realism is unnerving. Seeing the coat on him kickstarts a hard beating pulse. When he pans the camera back over to the bed, he walks around to the front to see a patient bleeding profusely. The patient is an old man who looks like he's got such little body fat that the only thing holding his bones together is his skin. "Dr. Smith, am I gonna die?" the patient pleads, their voice trembling and struggling to speak. Panic sets in as Bret struggles to respond. A nurse rushes over wearing an old outfit and her face blurred. "What are you doing? Stop the bleeding!" she yells. Bret's hands shake as he fumbles to stop the blood. The patient's heart rate monitor beeps erratically, matching Bret's rising panic. The patient's screams grow louder, her face contorting into something inhuman. Suddenly, the patient lunges at Bret and the phone vibrates violently in his hand. Bret screams and throws the phone, shattering the illusion. There he stands in the dark, in the middle of his room, heart pounding almost out of his chest in a broken phone. Never again, Bret thinks to himself. Determined to rid himself of the app, Bret takes the most precautions by not only deleting the app but removing the SIM card and running his phone till the battery dies. For a moment, he feels relief. He retreats to his bed and rolls over, hoping to start anew the next day. As Bret lay in bed, he circulated thoughts in his head that hadn't occurred in a while. Thoughts that maybe tomorrow he can update his resume and start applying for a new job. FearNet really made him consider so much of his life, but also showed him that there is more to life than just being a doctor. It made him question whether he wanted to be a doctor. In fact, being a doctor is only one small role in a much wider society. He could go into marketing, make a movie, hell, he can even write a book. Perhaps he can start a sport and become an athlete. He's still in his mid-20s and starting from scratch anyway, so maybe it was the right time to start exploring something new. Something different. With his newfound optimism, he shuts his eyes, looking forward to the new morning and hopeful for a new shot at life. It wasn't until 3 a.m. when Bret's dead and broken phone started incessantly buzzing. Groggingly, he checks it, only to find hundreds of notifications from FearNet. Paging Dr. Smith. Your next patient is waiting. Fear grips him as he sees the app has reopened on his home screen. He tries to delete it, but the option is grayed out. The notifications grow more aggressive, each message more sinister than the last. In a fit of desperation, Bret throws the phone on the ground and repeatedly smashes it until it's left in pieces. No way to ever chime again. Dead silence follows. So quiet that Bret feels his ears plug up like he's suddenly at 30,000 feet elevation. He tries unplugging his ears until he hears it. A very quiet and faint beeping noise. Almost like the same noise that's heard on a hearing test, except this is one tone, one beep, at a consistent rate. Each beep getting louder than the last. As the beeps grow louder, they reach a nauseating tone that's so loud it starts rattling Bret's brain and teeth. He drops to the floor, covering his ears, but it's useless as the beeps get louder and his agony grows. The beeping grows quicker and quicker with less time in between. Finally, the beeping stops when Bret hears panic knocking at his bedroom door. Doctor? Doctor, are you in there? We need you! A voice calls out. It's the nurse from earlier. Go away, you're not real! Bret shouts. The knocking intensifies until the door bursts open. The nurse's decayed face looms in the darkness. Her cold hands grab Bret, who's laying on the ground, and starts dragging him out of his room and down the hallway. Despite his protest, he finds himself back in the hospital room. Am I gonna die? Bret hears. It's a familiar voice, but it's not the same one as the patient from before. A different one. He rounds the bed and sees the young girl he once treated and lost on his last day as an EMT. It immediately sends the adrenaline pumping through his veins when he sees her extremely dead and desperate face, and the same bleeding stab wounds as before. The wounds profusely bleeding, gushing blood, and an inhumane amount of blood is starting to pool on the floor. Do something, doctor! The nurse screams, but Bret is caught in shock. He feels a burning sensation and sees the pool of blood now fully submerging his feet, burning the flesh right off of his bone, and not showing any sign of slowing. Give me some gauze. Bret snaps at the nurse, who almost instantly hands over a gauze pad. Just do the same thing as before, Bret thinks. As soon as the gauze pad touches the wound, it's almost completely absorbed with blood. The nurse continues to hand gauze pad after pad, but nothing is slowing the rushing blood even slightly. The blood continues to rise, eating away at the flesh around his ankles, knees, and now stomach height, which is when it starts consuming the patient in the bed. The patient starts to scream in agony as they all watch their flesh burning right off. The girl grabs Bret's arm with her icy cold touch, just as she did on the ambulance. This time with a grip so tight, it's like her hands are vice grips clamping down on him. The patient's accusations echo in his ears. Why did you stop? You could have saved me. You said I'd be alright. Why did you lie? Bret is locked in with her desperate eyes as she becomes fully submerged with the blood, unable to say anything. Just watch her face be withered away and drowned in her own acidic blood. The blood continues rising, the nurse just standing and watching Bret, unbothered by the blood eating at what's left of her decayed face. Why didn't you help her, doctor? You said she'd be okay? Were the final parting words the nurse had before the blood consumed her. Bret could feel the grip of the girl still hanging on to him, holding him down as the blood filled the room. He tried pulling away to escape, but couldn't break her grip. The blood reached his mouth, and he finally takes one final inhale through his nose before becoming fully immersed. As he feels his chest thumping and tightening for air, he's overcome with the strange feeling of acceptance, succumbing to his environment. What else can he do except be here and exist? He exhales his final breath, surrendering to the nightmare. As his vision and consciousness fade out, a pounding noise is heard. Like a knock on a door, clear as day, unmuffled by the dense pool of blood he's submerged under. Finally, the sound of a door opening and the pool of blood rushes out, like a corked bottle finally releasing. The racing flow sends Bret into his room and finally empties, leaving wet blood stains everywhere and all over him. As Bret lays on the ground, breathing heavy and wet, his father walks into the room with yet again another angry look across his face. "That's it, son. You've got it. What the hell are you doing on the ground?" his father asked, looking at him like a psych patient. "You can't see it? All the blood?" Bret asked, concerned and still out of breath. "Blood? What blood?" "I just see a buffoon lying on the ground screaming in his room in the middle of the night. Son, I think it's time you get a grip on life. And keep it down. Your mother's trying to sleep," his father snaps as he slams the door shut. As his father leaves, Bret's shattered phone buzzes one last time. He crawls over to the phone, barely able to read the notification that says, "Love your experience? Share the fear with your friends." And that concludes another journey into the dark world of the Terror Tapes. If you enjoyed the terror, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join our growing legion of fear seekers, and together we'll explore the darkest corners of the unknown. Until next time, stay haunted.